So Imagry is doing three things. We are a software company. We are doing perception, motion planning, and control. Now, in a very high level, the way it works is that we take the cameras, the video feed from the cameras, and cameras that are installed around the vehicle, and we stream it into an array of neural networks, where each neural network was built, was designed, was trained to understand a different type of object. So one is looking on traffic lights, and one on traffic signs, and one on lanes, and one on pedestrians, and so on. Many different neural networks. And then we build in real time, in layers, an HD map, like an HD map, but we don't save it, because it's like us. We see, we understand that we respond. Then we take that map into another section of the software that is based on deep convolutional neural network, meaning it's doing the decision making, and it's learning from its own mistake gradually. You know, we've been driving since 2019 in the US, Germany, Japan, and Israel. So we've been driving for many years, and we've done it in a very, smooth way until now. And also the control, obviously, because at the end of the day, we need to connect to a vehicle. Okay, so that's the very high level of basically the functionality. There are many different modules that we sell to OEMs and Tier 1s. It starts with autonomous parking, and then after autonomous parking, we get to traffic jam assist, which is within an urban environment, and then we get to safe driver overwatch, which is a situation in which the vehicle basically takes control and its own cognition won't let the driver do any mistakes, traffic signs, traffic lights, speed limits, and stuff like that. And it gets all the way to full self-drive, like Tesla's full self-drive. So, our approach, as I mentioned before, is distributed neural networks. So it's not one big neural network, like many in the industry are doing, but it's a distributed neural network. Now, what's the advantage of it? The advantage of it is that because we build it in such a modular approach, it consumes less computing resources, and so that's one thing. The second thing is that it's faster than running a large, big neural network, and latency, as you can understand, is the most important function, basically the most important parameter in autonomous driving vehicle. And another important thing is that it's easier to train, and the concept, the secret sauce to neural networks is not how they build, but how easy it is to train them, because you want to train them as much as possible. And if you train each and every small neural network, instead of training everything on every possible scenario on the road, it means that you need less data and it's easier to train. So this gives us that method of distributed neural network gives us an advantage. Also, with respect to network architecture, you can see the approach that we took, that is, again, the mixture of experts, basically, again, that distributed network in which we do modular training. By the way, our training is, we are not doing unsupervised training, but we are doing supervised training. Why? Because supervised training is safer, and supervised training is favorite to regulators. Because when you do not control basically the training that you do, like in unsupervised learning, then there is a problem that the vehicle will do things that you could not participate, that it will do. And this is why the supervised learning is safer. So you can see here different functions that we do. Parking spot detection, basically driving within a parking lot, whether a covered parking lot or an open parking lot, and finding the vehicle finds by itself the parking spot and parks automatically. And obviously autonomous valet parking, where the driver leaves the vehicle and then you get to your wall, you go up, and the vehicle continues and parks itself. And then traffic jam assist, again, within, I'll show you a video, within a normal environment, all the way to full self-drive. And we even sell it as different modules, meaning some customers, they want it all, like the full software stack, end-to-end, perception, motion planning, control, and so on. And some, they want only one module, for example, the motion planning. So, at night, for example, we use, and I'll show you a video, we use thermal camera. We have one thermal camera in which we can, first of all, in most cases, when you drive in a normal environment at night, there is enough light for the rear cameras. You don't need the thermal view. Only if you drive in a very dark environment, you need the thermal camera. And also, obviously, we can drive in rain and so on, and even in snow, because of the AI. Okay, so the next approach, the next sector that the company is addressing is autonomous buses. As you can see, autonomous buses are becoming a reality. There is a global shortage of 16 to 20% of drivers globally. And public transportation operator cannot meet the demand because of urbanization, because of aging, and that's why in many countries, already like 20 countries across Europe, they move to autonomous buses. So, once upon a time, they used pods, those small, purposely built vehicles. Most of them went bankrupt because the customers don't want them. They want the real vehicles, what they are used to operate, which are the buses, the real, what's called M3 category buses, the ones that public transportation operators are used to operate, to maintain, to offer as a service. So this is what we integrate with. You can see different buses that we integrate with. Now buses, first of all, they are made to order. That's one thing. And the second thing is that they are homologated to different states. So we have buses that are homologated in Europe, WVTA, GSR2, and so on. We have buses that are homologated in Japan, because that's a market that we also work in. And we have one bus that is also homologated in the US. So we have buses here, buses that we integrated with, autonomous buses that can walk in the US, in Europe, and Japan. And you can see different routes, what's called ODD, that we do. You can see one in a city in Israel. You can see another one which is in a large medical center. You can see in Germany, a route in a city in Germany. And that third one is, the last one there is in Tokyo. And there is also another one that we do currently in Osaka. Now, pay attention that some of these are routes that we do on right-hand side driving, and others are routes that we do in left-hand side driving areas, countries, which means that we need the ability to mirror in real time the entire perception layer in order for us to be able to drive in countries that are driving on the right-hand side and to drive in countries that are on the left-hand side, which is a unique capability. By the way, we can do that capability simply because we built that distributed architecture in which we can switch some of the neural networks to drive on the other side. So this is an integration that we do in a bus. We take a basic bus, an electric basic bus, and we make sure that it has steering box that drives that is electric, meaning that it drives drive by wire, basically functionality, meaning that we can control, we can connect to the CAN bus with commands and control it, and that's how we do it. Many factors that you need to take into account when you drive buses. We do cyber testing, UNR 155 cyber framework, which is mandatory in Europe since August 2024. We do NCAP testing that I will show you. We are the only company in the world that passed NCAP testing for autonomous buses. It's 90 different scenarios of emergency braking of buses. I'll show you some videos. Maybe we'll start by just a minute. You can see here a bus that is driving. It's a regular, big bus. It's driving. The driver is not touching the wheels. We have places in which we install such buses on commercial lines, meaning that the bus is driving like any other bus on that line, and is carrying passengers and so on. And again, you need to have the steering box of that bus to be capable of drive-by-wire, meaning that we can connect to the campus. Also, in such a bus, we must have an electric ramp that we can control, because there is no driver in the future in that bus. Now, in Europe, the regulation currently doesn't allow for driverless buses, meaning level 4. The existing regulation in Europe is currently only until level 3 or level 4, but meaning without a safety driver, only on a designated route or in operational zone. In Israel, where this bus is driving, the regulation allows us to get all the way to level 4, driverless buses. Meaning we could pull out the driver after passing NCAP testing for buses, which I will show you, after passing cyber regulation, and because no one wants, a bus full of passengers controlled from the outside, and after driving 100,000 autonomous kilometers on that route. So that's another, that's the testing that I mentioned of NCAP, where basically you will see a bus. That's the testing field of the Ministry of Transportation. You can see that the bus is driving in speeds between 30 to 60 kilometers per hour, and all kinds of robotic instruments jump before the bus. There are 90 different scenarios, and in order to pass the test, you have to pass all of them, meaning the score to pass is 100. So you can see all kinds of vehicles that stop or slow down. You can see pedestrians that are jumping in front of the bus. Some of the pedestrians are even occluded, meaning you will see in the next scenario that they will jump between vehicles. Just a minute, we'll see some more. And there are examiners of the Ministry of Transportation in the bus and outside, in order to see that indeed it passed all of it safely. By the way, this is the reason why we are being selected again and again in Japan, because we can demonstrate that we are that safe. You can see that pedestrian is jumping between the vehicle and the bus driver, if there was a bus driver, cannot see, basically. So that's called NCAP testing for buses, and we are the first and the only company in the world to have passed that. Another thing that I mentioned before is driving at night. You can see that this is a regular drive at night, meaning there is not a problem. The cameras, they have enough light in order to see that you can drive regularly like daytime. And again, all because of thanks to AI. And maybe the last thing that I'll show would be this one, in which you can see that we drive in a city. That was in a day of demonstration that we had to a large European car manufacturer. They came over and we drove, all day, where the car is driving seamlessly, full self-drive, in the city, in all speeds. And as you can see, maybe we'll do like fast forward. It will also, it will get to circles, to roundabouts, and it will pass. You can see, and you will see soon the behavior of the vehicle when a bus is violating basically our right and is, simply bursting into the roundabout, and the vehicle responds well and slows down and continue driving. Another, obviously, urban environment is much more complicated than highways. That's why it's because there are so many situations that could happen on that road, and the number of elements around you in terms of pedestrians and other vehicles that are moving or parking, and is much more complicated than in highway. Another thing that happens in a city is narrow streets in which vehicles are parking everywhere, including double parking, triple parking, and the vehicle needs to find its way. You can see the three-dimensional map that we build in real time, basically telling the vehicle what to do. And again, there is nothing that gets from the outside to the vehicle. The vehicle is completely self-sustained. It has computing, cameras, and that's it. And it drives. 8 cameras, 3 at the front, 1 at the back, 2 on the sides below the mirrors, and 2 on the sides that are looking sideways. And again, you can see that the vehicle responds to other vehicles, and it's waiting when it needs to wait to that motorbike to move, and then it won't honk, by the way, because it's not a human, and it drives always on. It's very safe in a very safe approach. And maybe the last scenario that I want you to see, if we fast forward. By the way, this is the traffic jam assist, what I mentioned before, that you are in a city and you're stuck in a traffic jam, and basically the only thing that you need to do is sit like that, and the vehicle will drive itself. You don't need to really do anything. The last thing that I want to show is basically this scenario. This is a very complicated intersection in which vehicles and pedestrians are coming from all over. And what you can see is that the vehicle will cross that intersection, and it will yield to pedestrians that are crossing that are crossing the road. But now there is a vehicle parking there, and the vehicle will do exactly what we would do as humans, right? It will wait until the vehicle gets into the parking spot, and it will check all the time to see if it has enough space to continue, the same way that I would drive. And once it decided that it has enough space, it will continue driving. This is basically human behavior, and it happens because the system was designed basically by people that were brain scientists. So the way that they build a perception, which is like our eyes, and the motion planning, which is basically like our cortex, is the same way that humans think. So this is how AI acts on the road. So, thank you.